Welcome along to our production diary for this week with more news and clips from our upcoming documentary On the Buses at the Movies.
Stephen Lewis was a great foil for me, really, you know, and I was always getting up his back, and he had this wonderful thing. He was a marvellous character. Oh God, Butler, I hate you. I hate you.
This guy was somebody who had been a sergeant in the army, and he was able to control the men under him with all that force behind him. He didn't have it now, so he was frustrated, so he retired. I'll get you, Butler, I'll get you, I'll have you with this. And that was it, that was how the part came about.
Well, it's certainly been a busy few months as we're trying to get ready for our new documentary On the Buses at the Movies, with studio closures, COVID restrictions, all sorts of things happening that have made it even harder for us to get the interviews that we really wanted to get. But we've persevered and we've got most of those interviews in the can. Now there's just one more person we want to speak to, and we're hopefully going to get that done in the next week or two. And that's the complete set that we're looking for On the Buses at the Movies. Now, it's been a big task to get to this point, and we've got tons and tons of material for the documentary. So there'll be a few extras here on YouTube as well. But the big process of the editing is now underway, that post-production process, cutting all those little pieces together. We've got hours of material and just finding the right bits and pieces to join together to have a really good narrative all the way through. It's going to be a huge challenge, but it's a challenge we're absolutely up for and looking forward to the next few weeks as we work very hard on getting that edit nicely finished. An actual release date, well, we're targeting the end of August, early September, but an exact release date we'll give you very soon. That kind of depends when we get that next interview, because we'd really like to be able to include that if we can. So, you know, we're being a bit flexible on the final release date just to make sure we get the best possible documentary that we can. So here we are doing a production diary early August, week commencing the 9th of August, and in many ways it's a bit of a sad week for us. A few years ago, we produced a documentary on the wonderful Peter Cushing. I was very honoured to have been able to interview him way back in 1986, and we put together a documentary to celebrate his life with some great contributions. Madeleine Smith, Judy Matheson, Valerie Leon, Christopher Lee, Maurice Bright, Paul Welsh, and of course the Hammer Runners, Brian Reynolds and Phil Campbell. And then on Wednesday, the 11th of August, we had to mark the 27th anniversary of Peter's passing. Incredible to believe, it's 27 years since we lost Peter Cushing. And as if that wasn't enough, the next day, the 12th of August, we had to remember it was 6 years since we lost the incredibly talented and absolutely adorable Stephen Lewis, Blakey from On the Buses. Stephen was without doubt a very talented man. He started out from the Joan Littlewood School. He was doing television and theatre from an early part of his career. And getting into On the Buses was, for him, one of the highlights of his life. He was really passionate about On the Buses, but of course it's not the only television series that we've seen him in. So in 1974, for example, there was Don't Drink the Water, which ran for a couple of years. And then in 1988 until 2007, nearly 20 years, he played Smiler in The Last of the Summer Wine. But you know, it's as Blakey on the Buses that most people remember him. And in many ways, you know, that was the character he played all the way through his career. Even in Last of the Summer Wine, you're saying, okay, it's called Smiler, but it really does look like and sound like Blakey from On the Buses. And so I thought it'd be really appropriate to spend some of this production diary just looking back at the wonderful Stephen Lewis and look at one or two clips that we have in the upcoming documentary On the Buses at the Movies. To start us off, here's Maurice Bright.
Second film, though, straight away, Mutiny on the Buses, spoof on the play Mutiny on the Bounty. Try to take it out a bit further on location this time, and let's go to Windsor Safari Park, and that led to all sorts of fun on and off set with poor Stephen Lewis, who was playing the Inspector Blakey, who'd become a very popular character. Wasn't meant to be one of the leads early on, but because of just the way that he was and his, oh my God, I hate you, Butler. And everyone's going around saying that, and he became one of the big stars. So let's do a bit more for him in this film. And as I say, there's a whole big sequence about Windsor Safari Park, but the plot was very much of the same. Their view being, well, if it isn't broken, why change it? And they knocked this one out pretty quickly too.
Stephen loved On the Buses, and in the interviews that we have for the documentary, he talks about getting the character together. Where did that character come from? Playing Blakey in the various series and in the films. But he also talks about how the public never seemed to forget Blakey. And he recalled a story later in life when he was at a railway station, when somebody saw him on a platform and he heard an announcement on the train station, "Oi, Blakey, get that train out." Just nobody seemed to forget that was the character he played. But that's because they loved him and they loved that character. He loved the series, and the cast who were in the series also loved him too.
He was a poor guy always, and he got better as he went along, because as I say, he had one line or two at the very beginning of the TV show. Then he improved a lot as an actor, and in the film he was very good indeed.
Well, he's very good because his big visual is being harassed and being upset, and of course he was that all the time, so he really just played that part all the time.
He would be given a line saying, "Oh no," and that would develop into a series, "Oh no, 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 but," and I mean, it was just extraordinary. He built his part from nothing to more or less the second lead in the show.
But we got on so well with one another. We had so many great laughs. I mean, we had bigger laughs than in the show, although the show was funny itself. But behind the scenes, the things that were happening, extraordinary.
The wonderful Stephen Lewis, Blakey from On the Buses, and Blakey from just about every television series he was in subsequently, but the wonderful Blakey from On the Buses. That's it for our production diary this week. Thank you for watching. More news on the upcoming documentary On the Buses at the movies very, very soon. And we're looking forward to confirming final release date just once we get that final interview recorded. And the possibility, still working on it, the possibility of whether or not there'll be a DVD to follow as well. A lot of people are asking that question on social media. Well, hopefully we'll have some news on that in the next week or two. Thanks for watching. See you soon.